Hello and welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the South Park Center and I'm here with Steve with his movie Thirst Trap. Let's get a clip.
Here in Los Angeles, all the guys look like stock photos. I try to look accessible. By now it's become fairly routine. On average, it takes 37 minutes to find someone up to my standards. Here we go. Oh, he's a fucking snack. And better yet, he uses punctuation.
Steve, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it and congratulations on your film.
Well, thank you.
But for those that haven't seen it yet, tell us a brief synopsis.
Well, Thirst Trap is about a vampire who is looking for his next victim on Grindr. And it's sort of implied that this is his nightly ritual, or at least at this era, this moment in time. And then he ends up spotting another vampire on his dating app, and so that leads the night in an unexpected direction.
And why would you not want to watch that film? Because it's the most interesting synopsis ever. I love it. It's a brilliant idea. Where did the inspiration come for you?
I think initially, I honestly don't remember. It was probably, I'm a big fan of puns. Like my last short film was a little horror comedy called Blood Oranges, which is literally about oranges that eat people.
Yeah.
And so I, was, kind of tossing the phrase "thirst trap" is just really inherently amusing to me. Like
yeah.
I just, I used to produce and direct kids content, and so I'm like really up on, what the kids are saying. And
yeah.
So I think initially the story just came from just the pun, and
you took it to a whole movie. I love it.
Yeah, well, as I was writing it, it kind of took an unexpected direction where I was expecting it to be a comedy, and it sort of ended up being a little bit more serious than I anticipated.
But what I loved is you played so many roles in front and behind camera of this whole thing. Was that always the initial intention?
Yeah, well, I was, I freelance, and so I was between projects, and I've always wanted to do something where it was kind of like the cinematic equivalent of a one-man show, where I could, as an exercise, could write, direct, and perform a piece. And I had recently moved to LA. I had an apartment that I thought was very camera friendly, and I was kind of like knocking around ideas about like, well, what kind of film could I shoot here? And and if there's only one character, there are only so many ways that they can communicate with other characters or other, introduce other kinds of conflict. So it's either they're talking to somebody on the phone, or in the case of smartphones and social media, they're texting. And the thing that I found, it was interesting to me. The idea of a conflict that's going on, through a text conversation. But as I was filming it, it occurred to me that it's really not. It doesn't look interesting. This doesn't look interesting. So that was a challenge, just to figure out a way to, to stylize that and make that, interesting. And so it's a lot of just like moving the camera around and like trying different things, and also maybe there are things that you imply with a facial expression or, a movement of the hand where you don't literally see what's on the screen. And so that allows the audience to kind of make deductions.
But one thing I just love is that you did this all yourself. I can't quite get my head around how you did the entire thing by yourself. Like it's incredible. It's actually incredible.
It was, well, thank you. It was kind of a Zen kind of thing, especially in this film where I go into some, adult, personal territory. And I don't know, like as an actor, like if I would have been comfortable with some of the, things that I portray on screen, if there's a big crew around me. And so I was able to kind of experiment and like find my own comfort zones, and then I could play back the footage and I'm like, ooh, let's not use that angle.
At least you get to make that decision or something as well, right? No, I love that. And the whole set was lovely, really stylized. I felt like I was in sort of some vampire shrine or something. and you really, how did you get playing around with the lights and everything else? Was that quite difficult?
Well, no, it's actually just how the lighting is in my apartment.
Oh, perfect.
I know, right? I sort of like the Dogma 95 philosophy, which is, for those who don't know, is sort of like shooting with available light and not really doing a lot of setups, and just making it as authentic and natural as possible. And so, also, like, I shoot vlogs sometimes and stuff for social media, and so I'm accustomed to shooting videos within my space, and so I may or may not have designed the lighting to already, look flattering on camera.
Yeah.
But for one thing, I have the Philips Hue smart bulbs. Pink and blue light always look flattering on camera. Anything in like pink, blue, purple.
Good to know. Good to know.
So so that was kind of easy.
The lighting was it just looked beautiful. It just looked really, very fantastic. Now going back a little bit, obviously in front of camera, did you find yourself quite vulnerable, like just being in sort of like on camera with just the camera there? How did that feel? Yeah,
well, one thing I tried, and I shot this over a few different days, and the performance I ended up selecting for the final cut, I shot over the course of one evening. But there were a couple of other evenings where I kind of thought of them as rehearsals, but I had the cameras rolling as a means of like, okay, well, if I capture something that's like golden, I can use it. But the first night I tried kind of doing a little bit of role play where I actually logged into Grindr and I filmed, I picked my angles and I'm, behaving as one normally would. And I found that it just didn't, by ignoring the camera and just being authentically in the moment, it just doesn't look great. It's, your angles are weird. You can't really tell what's going on. Facial expressions are weird. And that was the other discovery is like, this is like, when you're reading, sometimes you don't have like much expression. In real life.
Interesting.
So that was an interesting discovery. It was like, okay, well, that's a good rehearsal. Like there are moments from this that I can try to recreate and then amplify for the camera to like make the performance, a little bit more substantial.
Yeah, well, it worked. It worked anyway. What was it? I mean, after you made this film and this film that you really put your heart and soul into it, and it was pretty much down to you. What was it like to have that at like New Filmmakers LA in front of an audience? What was that experience like for you?
Well, it's always, it's always quite gratifying to screen your work in front of an audience, and you find, especially in this, it starts off as kind of a comedy. There are some lines that it's like, are they going to land in the way that I hope that they do? And it always depends on like who the crowd is, but people were laughing when they were supposed to. It's like, okay, well that's good. Like these are working, and then they're not laughing when they're supposed to, so that's good. You don't want something to be unintentionally funny, and so that was gratifying. Last night I felt like it was a really great audience, but also kind of reaffirmed that the things are working, and I also got to say that the other films in the lineup were so amazing, and it was just humbling to be part of that collection of films and that group of filmmakers. It's just really cool.
As was yours. What is next for you, Steve?
Well, I'm writing a feature. It's actually based on the short film I did a couple years ago, Blood Oranges. And so something, honestly, that I would love to see more of in LGBTQ cinema. There's a lot of very necessary storytelling about the trials and the overcoming the obstacles of being part of the LGBTQ plus community. But I really want to see more stories where it's the gay protagonist and is totally incidental to what's going on. It's like the conflict doesn't arise from that. And so in the case of Blood Oranges, the short, the main character is gay, but it has nothing to do with the orange that's trying to eat him. And it feels weirdly progressive, but like I just want to have a monster movie with gay characters, and it's just a monster movie. And these people are just people. And represented in a way that's is incidental to what's going on. So.
Well, I love that you said that, because until we do have films like that, there is never going to be that change. So I'm glad that you are being part of that change, because I think the community needs to have that as well, you know, and that's wonderful that you're doing that. Steve, just closing up, because you're a very experienced filmmaker and, you know, worked in many different capacities, what piece of advice do you have as a filmmaker that you may give to other people out there?
Well, I would say that the tools for filmmaking now are more democratized than ever. It's just easier to access. You know, you have a camera in your pocket. You know, it's just go out and make something.
Yeah.
Steven Soderbergh is making movies on the iPhone now.
Yeah.
You know, if you've seen Tangerine, that was also shot on the iPhone. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful looking film.
Yeah.
There's just so much that you can do with the tools, and it's really just. You know, again, kind of like, you know, shooting my thing in my apartment. It's just the discipline of you know, going about it is easier said than done.
Yeah.
But if you're able to motivate yourself to do it, you know, even if you finish something and it's like, well, you know, it's not quite what I had in mind, it's a stepping stone to something else, and you learn from it. And so it's just go out and make stuff.
Well, you just
advice.
proved to us. I mean, you literally did the whole thing yourself. So when you're out there saying, I can't make a film, I can't do this, well, here you are, and your film's got to film festivals. So congratulations on you. But no, thank you very much, Steve. I loved your film. It's really good. I'm really excited to see your feature as well. So please come back to us.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
First, everyone.